So one of the books that I read this past spring was Breasts and Eggs by Mieko Kawakami. This book was tremendously life-changing and life-saving for me. So just briefly, this book is about contemporary womanhood in Japan, and it's told from the perspective of an aspiring writer, her sister, and her niece, so her sister's daughter. And it's the first time that they're getting together in years, like almost a decade. It chronicles their individual and shared journeys with coming to terms with their own womanhood. So I picked this up thinking that it would be like light and maybe lean into a less critical take on the female experience, but what I ended up with was something that, sure, maybe it wasn't heavy, but it definitely still made me think. It allowed for me to have space and create my own feminine space each morning. And so for those reasons, I think this book will always stick with me. My reading habits have been super strong. The books that I've chosen have been exactly what I wanted to read. And so this was the beginning of that trend in my reading. So I really love this book because it raises the question, should I have a child? Whatever your reproductive life plan is, when you come into this book, it will make you question it. And I think that's actually the most powerful thing about it, because it pokes and prods at each answer. If your answer is yes, I should have children, I feel like you'll say, should I? But should I? But should I? Because here are all the reasons I should not. And it also goes to the other end of the spectrum, and it says, if I'm not considering having a child, why should I? Each character has their own perspective on this matter. It takes a topical issue and it looks at that problem from all perspectives. This is an insanely and incredibly intelligent book, and because of that, this might be one of my favorite books of all time. Where I started this book, Sweet Days of Discipline. It's only 100 pages or so, so it's pretty short. It is about a girl and her time at a boarding school in the Swiss mountains, I believe. I could be wrong about that. And her relationship with one of the fellow students throughout the years. I went into this pretty blind, so I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen or the story behind this, but as she goes through her time at the boarding school, you start to realize something is off with this main character. And it's something that just sort of creeps up on you after reading her observations of the other girls in the boarding school. By the time you get to the end, it's a little unsettling in a very nice way. It reminded me, the prose was written like The Stranger by Albert Camus, because it takes on the same sorts of separateness and isolation that happens in The Stranger. The last 30 pages or so really sort of make this, I think, worth reading. I'm glad that it was only 100 pages because I didn't have to spend any time with a style that is not necessarily my favorite, but one that I do appreciate. I've just started Parable of the Sower, and I'm really excited about this. I'm only 20 or so pages in. I'm going into this pretty much blind as well. It's just the way that I like to go into things, pretty blind. I like that there's already like mystery about this, and characters are already fully developed. I feel like I am entering into a fully formed story, so I am excited about that. And I've never read Octavia E. Butler before. The books that I've read all year so far have been only by women. I just want to hear women's voices right now, I think. I don't really know. I'm just feeling super like feminine. Maybe it's because of the change in the weather, and with spring it really just kind of feels you know, just like wanting to read a feminine perspective, I suppose. And so that might change as the year goes, but that's what I'm feeling now. I'm almost done with the nonfic book that I'm reading right now, Cue the Sun. It's about the rise of reality television. My book club for it meets on Sunday, so I kind of am really wanting to get that wrapped up. Wanted to read something that was more in the dystopian vein, and I kind of want to dip my toes into science fiction. I do love science fiction, I just don't read a lot of it, but this being one of the most prolific and acclaimed science fiction books ever published, I thought, like, why not? It seems right up my alley, and surprise, surprise, it was. I wish, yeah, it was. I loved this book. Briefly, this book is about the climate change and economic crisis that sort of leads to social chaos in the early 2020s. So our main character here is 15-year-old Lauren, who lives inside a gated community with her family, while there is social anarchy and chaos happening all around them outside. So they're all pretty sheltered from the anarchy that's happening outside of their walls. And she realizes, what she comes to realize is that she has to go outside of her walls to really step into her purpose, to protect her family and her neighbors, and to protect what's left of humanity. So this book is important to me because I think it examines one of my favorite topics of discourse, which is, how malleable are your beliefs? How malleable do your beliefs have to be for them to still be convictions, versus you have to change because circumstances around you have changed and you can no longer hold on to your previous beliefs and still move forward and go forward in life. And I think that this book does a really great job of examining that. I kind of really love this topic because when I was in 6th grade, I read Night by Elie Wiesel, and that book has to be one of my all-time favorite books ever. That's one of the things that I took from that book that I think that Parable of the Sower picks up on for me as a reader, right? It picks up on that and helps me to explore that theme once again for me. And I think that it's so beautifully done and so subtly done in this book. And I think that this book can actually give young readers who are growing up especially now with the influx of media and just a lot of negativity that is so prominent in our online world, that this can actually give them a bit of hope. So that even in the face of awful situations and life events and tragedies that may befall you or that may come your way as you go through life, that you can still be a decent human being on the other side of that, that things will work out. This book is so hopeful to me, and I think that this is actually such a positive message, especially right now. It's only even more timely because our current timeline lapses over with the timeline of the character of this book. And this was written in like the 80s or the 90s, and it's just so relevant for today. Again, just a positive message of hope and perseverance, even when the world is just crumbling around you. So, came out here, new day, new me. I went and grabbed my new book, My Year of Rest and Relaxation. And so far, it's pretty good. I decided to really stick with what I am liking in the books that I am reading. So for me, that's light, feminine stories and stories about women's experiences, and that's just where my good spot is right now, and I'm not really looking forward to stepping out of that because it is nice to find fiction that I really connect with. And so I want to keep on that, exploring that, and see what all I can find and read that really speaks to me for where I am right now in my life. So yeah, I'm reading My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I'm pretty excited about it. It is about this woman who is a bit depressed and not quite sure why yet, but she wants to go into hibernation. So in order to get the sleeping pills that she needs, she finds a psychiatrist who is odd and maybe shouldn't have a license. Maybe she shouldn't have a license. So I'm excited to find out where this leads and where this goes. I'm going in pretty blind to this, so we'll see. So far, I like it. I think it's a pretty decent read so far. Pretty decent read so far. I'm into it, and I'm excited I chose this one after Parable of the Sower, which was so magnificent. My Year of Rest and Relaxation as I was in the need of rest myself. And so I thought it would be cool to see the perspective of a woman who might be going through a similar journey. That is not exactly what I got. I could not relate to this character totally. So briefly, this book is about this rich young woman who has lost both of her parents and has inherited both their wealth and their good looks. She decides to fill the void in her life by taking sleeping pills. And might I say, goodness, I went through so many ups and downs with this book. There are parts that I truly adored and thought were deeply interesting. And there are other parts where the main character is so unlikable. Because of that, this book remains a bit mid for me. Unlikable as a trope, I don't really know. It's just not something that resonates with me if you're unlikable and you have no other redeeming qualities about yourself. Nothing about your life garners any empathy. I think that's why we read, it's to gain empathy. But my favorite thing about this book is the beginning structure. The way that we're introduced to other characters through their toxic relationships with the main character is brilliant. I think that there is something so brilliant about the structure of the beginning. We meet the main character's best friend, we meet the main character's psychiatrist, we meet the main character's romantic fling, we meet, I think, her parents as well, and to see that all of her relationships are filled with so much subtle dysfunction was really interesting. So because of that, yeah, the book is just mid for me. It was alright. It was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it.
So yeah, we'll see you on the other side.